Master Beacon. Thank you for following. Alright, let's get into this. So, Gein. Or is it Gein? I don't know, there was said many different ways, honestly, for that last name. So I finally watched the Netflix documentary or drama-mentary. I'm not sure exactly how you want to describe that. It was very interesting. Like, I knew that Ed Gein was, in the Midwest. I knew that. And I don't know why I always forget this fact, but he was literally in Wisconsin. Like, that just blows my mind. Like, some guy who had a farm all the way up in Wisconsin had such a psychosis break that he got put into a mental institute. Literally, a state-funded mental institute. And he lived to a ripe old age of 77 years old. Freaking blows my mind. But yeah, died at July 26, 1984, 77, at Mendota Mental Health Institute in Madison, Wisconsin. Is this not crazy? And because of everything he did, excuse me, he went on to make so many roads available, I guess, for lack of better terminology, for so many other serial killers. I mean, they literally saw what he did and tried doing the same thing. We're talking Ted Bundy, the Night Stalker. How many other people? Gosh, there were so many. The Birdman. Like, absolutely insanity. Like, how messed up do you have to go through all of that? And he didn't even realize he was doing half the time. Like, his psychosis took over that bad. Like, I don't want to put it out there like I feel bad for the guy, because, I mean, he did still kill so many people. But at the same time, he has so many mental things going on from what his mom did to him, what his other family members did to him. Like, how much of a shitty person do you have to be to put your own child through the knowledge of you're never going to be with a person? Your mom's not allowing you to find your own happiness. Right? That's what I'm saying. Stupid quip. His mom did this to him, which is absolute insanity. Like, the one person who's supposed to love their child unconditionally fucks you up for the rest of your life. Like, you also have to wonder, did she drop him as a child? I mean, did she beat him up? What, like, all the stuff that is left to speculation on this poor guy.
Fuck yeah, you're an awesome
Like,
motherfucker. Thanks for the follow, bro.
thank you. Um, it blows my mind. Like, I watched the whole thing from where they came in when he was like just beginning, like right there on that edge, that sword's edge. It's like his mom put him in charge of his brother, and his brother was rebelling about everything. Everything. And then, I don't know, it blows my mind. Like, after that, it kind of turns dark really fast. I mean, he murdered his brother. Because of that, his mom went, like, absolutely insane, had a stroke, where then Ed was left to take care of her, like, literally from feeding her to bathing her to you name it, had to do everything for her. And then it came down to a point where she told him she needed to go get money from this other family and was blaming Ed for it. And then all of a sudden she croaks over and just like, oh, okay. And Ed doesn't understand. He's not understanding that his mom is gone. And that was the serious break. Oops, sorry. But yeah, that was where the serious break came into play. And he could not cope with the reality after that. Could not cope with it. But yeah, he was up there in Plainfield, Wisconsin. And because of that, he, being isolated from everybody after his mom died, not being allowed to grow those coping skills as a child growing up in that area, because his mom really tried to instill in him that women were sin and sin was bad. And so she twisted the Bible, she twisted it to use against this poor child's brain. To make him comply to everything she wanted. Like, she didn't want him to leave the home. And they kind of went into a little bit of the back history of what happened. Like, her own family also did similar, honestly, to her. And as far as the whole Bible, using it to twist words and whatnot. And she just perpetuated it. And it's painful to know that that child had to go through all of that. I mean, it's honestly no wonder that he went the way that he would. it's absolutely insane. And by the way, I did follow y'all back. Thank you again. I really appreciate the follows. Follow. Sorry, gotta go follow everybody back. But I digress, honestly. I mean, there's a lot we could say about the childhood, but then as he's growing up, because of how wide that psychosis gets, like you can kind of see the timeline at what point he changes from being obsessed with trying to find somebody to be with and love to where another person with similar issues that, and she's female, she saw what was going on with him and used it to her benefit. And that did more damage to him than anything else. Because it just played into that fantasy, that psychosis, that absolute insanity. Bear with me a little bit. I need to turn that down. Like, I'm not going through this with everybody to say that I agree with the things that he did. I want to make that clear. I do not I don't agree with, murdering the way he did and then digging up bodies, necrophilia, all of that. I don't agree with it. But when your mind is broken, to the point that his was, it's at what point do you blame the disease or do you blame him? And and that's one of the biggest issues that came across. It's like they saw what happened, they saw what was going on, they did all of those things, but he was not mentally there. And there's lies the difference between him and regular serial killers. But it does. The psychosis part of it does, play a major role in it. You, from a young age, are taught.
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm approaching.
One moment, I gotta get out of this sandstorm. Yeah, wait for the stupid sandstorm to pass by. Anyway, but that was the difference between him and a lot of the other serial killers who literally watched what he did. Watched what he did, took notes, read the stories, saw the comic books that were made of the poor guy. They twisted it to fit their own narrative and went out and killed in the name of that Gein. The most interesting thing is it's probably the collection of furniture, I guess, that this guy made. I mean, he treated the human skin like leather. He tanned it. He did the whole 9 yards, and he made absolutely beautiful furniture. Even when he was putting the state mental institute, he took great pride in his work. Most serial killers, you'll never let around knives and metal knives and spoons and forks and tools to do woodworking with, or lawn care, or carvings and things like that. But at Gein, he was allowed all of that. He was also allowed a pair of scissors, and he would cut out news articles about this killer or that killer for a long time. And I mean, I'm not utilizing all of this directly from the whole Netflix thing. I mean, I did some research as well. It's all out there. Just gotta kind of be careful when you're looking on the internet, though, how twisted they can get it too. There's no perfect right or wrong. Like, we will never fully understand what was behind Ed Gein's mental state, what he thought he did, what he thought he didn't do. But they did figure it out eventually, that this is what's going on and this is what they can use to help him. And I mean, stuck in a mental institute the rest of his life per court order. Not allowed this, that, or the other. I don't know why. It had to have been painful for him. Never being allowed to get close to anybody or anything. What the heck was that? Never allowed a whole lot of human contact. For years, it was like that for him. worst thing of all is the only one. All he ever wanted to do is make his mama happy, make his mama proud of him. Didn't matter what he did, she was never proud. She used fear to control Ed. And unfortunately, in this case, it kind of did the opposite. I don't know. Anyway, but if you do get a chance, I mean, the Ed Gein story on Netflix was actually pretty good. It touch bases on a few different things. All of it. I mean, take it for what you will, honestly. Like, I don't think anybody will ever know the full story of why, what, and how, and how bad that psychosis drove him. So I see that you're coming in. It must not have been a big one. That really is interesting, though. It's like Karma kind of got her last word when it came to Ed, though. He died of complications from cancer. What is most interesting, I guess, is the fact that not only did he kill people, but he also robbed graves of human remains. I mean, they also kind of touch bases, like saying that, you know, Ed ate human remains and things like that, you know, body parts. But unfortunately, it was never fully proven. And so it's something that they can only kind of touch a base on, but they can't go into further detail. But I mean, if you look at some of the most famous movies in history, for example, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hannibal, not Hannibal, Silence of the Lambs, I guess, is the better one. American Psycho. Not the newer 80 version of it, but the one done by, or not American Psycho, but Psycho. The one done, Alfred Hitchcock. There's Deranged. Of course, I already mentioned Silence of the Lambs. But there was a few different Ed Gein movies too. For example, Ed Gein, The Butcher of Plainfield in 2007, Psycho, The Lost Tapes of Ed Gein in 2023, Three on a Meat Hook in 1972. And then there was that Asylum in the American Horror Story. It was on a TV show. So it's just like, he inspired quite a lot. And even now, if you look at all of the horror movies, it's still inspired by some of the stuff that Ed Gein did. Absolutely just mind-blowing. Oh, Motel Hell, I almost forgot about that one. What was another one? What was that other one? Like, there was another one, Bates Motel, I think it was called. Yeah, Bates Motel is what I think it's called. I think it was done in 1987. Anyway, it was supposedly a supernatural horror film, kind of a spin-off from the whole Psycho franchise. But again, that one was inspired from Ed Gein's story because of how he went psycho because his mom passed away. Very similar stories, very similar instances, just very much inspired by the Ed Gein story. Okay. I don't think this sandstorm is coming like it said it was. Like I said though, even now you can see some of how the Ed Gein story has inspired some of the today's movies and programs and what have you. I'm going the wrong way. I'm going the wrong way! That's so cool. I'm going to the deep desert. Anyway, I'd like to hear everybody else's thoughts on this whole thing too. I mean, so this is actually a discussion. I can sit here and talk all day about the Ed Gein story, but you know, I want to kind of know what your opinions are. I mean, do you think that his psychosis was enough to put him in a mental institute for the rest of his life, or do you think he was the world's smartest man by acting like the world's stupidest man? Basically said he would never understand what he did. We're going in desert. Also kind of blows your mind too that his middle name is Theodore, which was Ted Bundy's first name. Theodore Bundy. Now, if you go by some of the information though about Gein, they're saying like 1968 he was found mentally incompetent to stand trial, but then he was found guilty of the murder of Warden, but was found legally insane and thus remained in psychiatry. What's really messed up though is like, even though he was the youngest of the two sons, he was still forced to essentially watch his older brother. Like, back instincts when the youngest have to watch the oldest. Should have been both black, they should have been watching out for him. They didn't. Trying to see if I can find any spice blues out here, but I don't see too many happening. Usually if there was going to be one, it would be right about this time. Anyway, I guess Mom was on her own little psychosis level too. With the sheer amount of berating and religious fear-mongering is the best word I can, honestly, the best phrase I can ask for that. Religious fear-mongering. She had her own psychosis about the way life is supposed to work. Like she said, her beliefs of women were naturally promiscuous and instruments of the devil, and yet she was one. She was a woman, and she didn't like to turn that own mirror upon actually never did read out of the New Testament too much. I mean, it was all Old Testament too, from what the stories are saying. You know, always the Old Testament or the Book of Revelation, concerning specifically death and murder and the divine retribution. Is Friday say he had a very motherly psychosis. He wanted to, you know, with her. And you know, Gein's father was a carpenter, a tanner, and I guess a local firefighter for the area too. Also owned the local grocery store, and after Gein's mother I was like, I've had enough of you. We ain't doing this no more. He sold all his businesses and left the city to live on 155 acres in Plainfield, Wisconsin. Hey, get back up there. Let me through. Let me through. Why won't let me through? Have you ever known for this to ever happen? Or it won't let me through? Interesting. I mean, I can honestly say why I wouldn't blame her. Can't blame exactly the mother for some of her psychosis. I mean, her ex was, you know, a drunkard, beat her a lot, things like that. But at the same time, she used that as ammunition towards her children. used the farm to her best advantage. She was able to isolate her children from other people and keep out the world, essentially. That way, she was able to control him with her fear. And the only time that Gein never really left that farm, though, is for school, and then to get bodies and murder people. How far was that working? I think I'm going to try and do this once a week. I'm going to call it my Murder Monday series, because I mean, from what I can see, is there's going to be other series about this, or Monday Monsters or something like that, because there's a whole series that Netflix is doing about different monsters. I don't know, I'm kind of tooling around with it still. I mean, there was a lot in the communities. People didn't seem to really care, or well, they did, but not really until it affected them. But in the meantime, these monsters, for lack of better terminology, were just left to free reign. Yay, I made it back out to deep desert. Yay! We're going to the Hog Express. I would never do what Atkins does, but I can see where everything changed for him. I can see that timeline. I can see how when he saw these other people doing what he thought was the only thing in his heart, in his mind, and that he tried fighting against for years. And no longer fighting against. It's insanity. What's mind-boggling is he tried for many, many years to fight against it. To the point where he could no longer fight. It was just too powerful. You know, he knew he'd be letting his mom down. But when she was gone, the blurring of the two worlds finally was enough to allow him to take that leap off the edge. And he did. He took that leap. He didn't look back. That first time when Ed got away with murdering his brother, people thought Ed wasn't going to be able to do something like that. He was mentally slow. He wasn't slow. He was very, very smart. Probably smarter than any of us give him credit for. I honestly think the way that sounded like he had a touch of autism, along with the psychosis and everything else. I mean, the brain can be very powerful in the way that it can fool people. And it has no rhyme or reason. It does. Get out of there. Looks like I don't have any of those. I mean, but what a world to make furniture and clothing from a human skin and not think twice about it. Well, if you ever really thought about it, I think when he was in the moment, he just kind of went with it. He didn't have anybody telling him no, or that that's not right. I mean, he did babysit and everything, trying to make money, but I think it was honestly because he really, I think he could relate to the children more than he could the adults. The children, I think, represented like a piece of his childhood that he never got to live out and enjoy, and it's actually crazy. That's actually less than what I'm wearing. How did that happen? Hmm. 61. I thought it was very interesting, though, how the coroner and the police both dismissed the fact that his brother was essentially murdered. I mean, they marked it as asphyxiation rather than what it really was. Like, and I know they didn't have a lot of tests back then. Like, none of them knew. I mean, this is Plainfield, Wisconsin. It's the back of the Booney type like situation. None of them knew what the tests were to look for just to rule it out as what it really was, a case of murder. Abid. Hey, what are you kittens doing? I have kittens out right now. Honestly, though, this is the one true case that, Freud was absolutely correct about. When Freud says that men only think of one thing with your moms, for this one, it was true. I got a message. What did I get?
Ready, friend? You know the drill. Incoming! Hi! So sorry.
No, you're not.
Looks like love was a little too strong today.
That was cute. My spouse sent me a really cute little thing with a little heart and a little eye. It's so cute. I mean, he loved his mom so much that, he boarded up his mom's room, places that she would frequent, including the upstairs parlor, including all of the upstairs, I should say, the downstairs parlor and the living room, leaving them completely untouched, but the rest of the house became a squalid place. Those rooms that his mom frequented the most were in pristine condition. I mean, he lived in a small room next to the kitchen. Pulp magazines and adventure stories became his life, especially the few that involved Nazis and cannibals and specifically anything that Lise Scott, or excuse me, Lise Koch? I'm not sure how to say her name. Where she'd been accused of selecting tattooed prisoners for death fashion, including lampshades and other items made from their skin. And That is the first time that Gein thought, I could do this. And he started doing that, I guess. In 1951, you know, the governments were starting to do the whole subsidies from federal government level for farms. So he occasionally worked for local municipal road crews and threshing crews. At some point, he also started selling certain parcels of acreage to the government. The crimes that they can confirm. November 16th, 1957, 58-year-old Plainfield hardware store owner Bernice Worden disappeared. The hardware store's truck was seen driving out from the rear of the building at 9:30 a.m. And you know, the store had very few customers during that time of day. Residents, of course, believe that it was because of deer hunting season, because it was around that time for deer hunting. Warden's son, Deputy Sheriff Frank Warden, entered the store around 5 p.m. to find the cash register open and bloodstains all over the floor. Frank told investigators that on the evening before his mother's disappearance, Gein had been in the store and was expected to return the next morning for a gallon of antifreeze. A sales slip for the antifreeze was the last receipt written by Bernice Worden on the morning that she disappeared. That evening, Gein was arrested in West Plainfield, grocery store. Yeah, so there goes some complications. Some say it was at his house. Some say it was, you know, out in the middle of the street. Some say it was at the local grocery store. So it kind of just depends on what you want to believe. But then the sheriff department searched the Gein farm. Sheriff deputy discovered Warden's decapitated body in a shed on the Gein's property, hung upside down by her legs with a crossbar at her ankles and ropes at her wrist, dressed out just like a deer. They found that she had been shot with a .22 caliber rifle, and mutilations were made after her death. Now, searching further into the house, the authorities found whole human bones and fragments, a wastebasket made of human skin covering several chairs, human skulls mounted on the bedposts, female skulls, some with the tops sawed off, bowls made of human skin, a corset made from the female torso, skinned from the shoulder to the waist, leggings made from human leg skin, masks made from the skin of female heads, Mary Hogan's face mask in a paper bag, Mary Hogan's skull in a box, Bernice Warden's entire head in a burlap sack, Bernice Warden's heart in a plastic bag in front of Gein's potbelly stove, 9 vulvas in a shoebox, a young girl's dress, and the vulva of 2 females, judged to have been about 15 years old roughly, a belt made from female human nipples, 4 noses, a pair of lips on the window shade drawstring, a lampshade made of human skin of a human face, fingernails, and female fingers. So quite an extensive collection, honestly. Now, that being said, as he later on was in the mental institute and was not allowed to humans, he did make a few pieces of, I guess, faux human, which is quite interesting considering where he was at. And all of these artifacts, they were photographed at the state crime laboratory and then decently disposed of. When questioned, Gein told investigators that between 1947 and 1952, he had made many, as 40 nocturnal visits to 3 different graveyards to exhume recently buried bodies while he was in a dazed-like state. So when he was deep into a psychosis, when he really did some of these things, I mean really did some of these things, absolutely crazy. And he said, and he also told him, like, on about 30 of those visits, he said that he came out of the daze while in the cemetery, left the grave in good order, and returned home completely empty-handed. So while, yes, the psychosis was starting to take over more and more and more, when he came out of the psychosis, whether it was mid-dig or whatever was going on, he would stop himself. Clean up whatever he did, and then go home. Absolutely crazy. Wait. And later on, like when he was on his medication and everything to help with the psychosis episodes, I mean, he was finally able to remember from every single episode the things that he did. And he tried repenting in every way possible. I know, I'm talking too much and not doing much gaming. It's just interesting. Oh, I just did that. I don't know. I mean, say what you want about the guy, he just had a lot running against him from the word go. Like I said before, I don't think he did the right thing in life. And I will never say that he did. But life handed him a very shitty hand. And he did the best he could with what little bit he had to work with. Which honestly wasn't much to begin with.
Yeah, you're an awesome motherfucker. Thanks for the follow, bro.
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm is approaching.
A large sandstorm is approaching. Aw, thank you. I appreciate the follow. Welcome back. Anyway, so on other occasions, though, like that he visited the different graveyards, he did dig up some of the graves of the recently buried middle-aged, so not young, but middle-aged women, which I find interesting because, like, you would have thought the younger the better, because they're more palatable, more pliable. But no, he went for middle-aged women because they reminded him of his mother. It got dark so quickly. Look at all the sound. It looks like it's coming in the background. Now, that being said, if you take a look at Silence of the Lambs or any of the other ones that were based upon Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that were based upon making masks and clothing from the skin and all of that, they went for people who were bigger or prettier. They didn't go for the middle-aged women. So therein lies the difference too, because while these movies were based upon what Gein did in his life, they didn't follow the same structure. Is this yeah, this is what I was looking for. I mean, they kind of did, but not in the way that you or I would have thought. You've got the smaller one. There's weapons in it. Okay. What the heavy darted ones? missile launcher. Vulcan. What kitten? Oh, I got the kittens up here. Hey, that's skin. Hi! Hey, Punkerdoodle. What? But yeah, Gein admitted to stealing from 9 different graves and led investigators to the specific ones. What? What? What's
Sector
what?
weather alert. A large sandstorm
Holy
is
cow,
approaching.
another one? Wow, this is like the sector of sandstorms. Good gravy. Specifically the ones that Gein's kind of stole from, the caskets were inside wooden boxes. And the top boards ran crossways rather than lengthwise. And because of that, tops of the boxes were about 2 feet, so about 61 centimeters below the surface in the sand. So Gein had the graves soon. Well, he hit them up so soon after the burials were done. And that was because the graves were incomplete. These were test graves. They were exhumed that the authorities used. They made faux, fake graves. Which were exhumed because authorities were uncertain as to whether the sleight that Gein was capable of, even being able to do all of that single-handedly, digging up the grave, taking out the body, etc., etc., etc. They were unsure that Gein was even capable of doing that because he was a one-man show. Just one single man. Like, seriously? Could you do this? But yeah. And they found that exactly as Gein had described, they were capable of being able to do the exact same thing, so they could replicate it. One casket was completely empty. Another casket was empty but contained a few bone fragments, Gein's crowbar, and the final casket had most of the body missing, but Gein had returned rings and some body parts back to these burials. Thus, Gein's confession was largely corroborated by all of the evidence, so to speak. But soon after his mom's death, Gein began to create a woman suit so that he could become his mother, to literally crawl in her skin. He denied having relations with the bodies that he exhumed, explaining they smelled too bad. But during the state crime laboratory interrogation, Gein did admit to shooting 51-year-old Mary Hogan, a tavern owner who had been missing since December 8th, 1954. And I mean, they corroborate that story because her head was found in the house. Though he denied any memory of any of the details of her surrounding her death. So it's like, yeah, I did it, but I don't remember I did it. And which is understandable. I mean, he has severe psychosis. Like, his mother and family abused him for so many years. I'm surprised he wasn't even more crazier than they had initially thought he was. I mean, he was really, yeah. I don't know. Excuse me, didn't be yawning you. No. I got 2 kids trying to fall asleep on me, so they're making me tired. I mean, there was a 16-year-old youth, you know, whose parents were friends with the Gein family and who attended baseball games, movies. Well, and they reported that Gein had shrunken heads in the house, which he described as relics sent by a cousin who had served in the Philippines during World War II. On their investigation, the police determined that the quote-unquote shrunken heads, they were determined to be human facial skin carefully peeled from the corpses of and used by Gein as masks. So, while yes, Gein was trying to play it off like it was family, he negates the thing where it was him. Gein was also considered a suspect in several other unsolved cases in Wisconsin. Like they couldn't prove it was him because back at that time they didn't have, you know, DNA and things like that to be able to link him to these. They suspect it was him because of the manner of the situation, but they can't exactly prove it. could mention this. um, but I mean, like, they had a lot of things that kind of came into play when they were suspecting him for other murders as well. Like, sadly, though, like when he took a lie detector test and everything else, he passed with flying colors. And that kind of exonerated Gein a little bit about any of the other murders. And psychiatrists also concluded that his violence was only directed towards women who physically resembled his mother. So, like, if you didn't resemble his mother or whatever, or, you know, seem like you would do the stuff that his mom stated that women do, you were pretty much safe. Anything beyond that, you were screwed. It's like, you're done. No, you're done. Type of situation. And that was in his mind. All that was all brought on to this from the psychosis that his mom put him through for years. You know, telling him that he's never going to be with another person, nobody wants him. It's like, tell us you're a sadistic, twisted person without telling us you're a sadistic, twisted person when it came to his mom. It's like, screw that. Mm-mm. I'm gonna put you over here. I'm gonna go grab some light darts. Light darts! I don't know. It's sad, kind of, in a way, that his life was ruined before it even really began. Because his family just didn't freaking care. They cared in a way that, you know, psychopaths care for each other, I guess. But, like, Gein, because of everything, was reportedly blamed for Georgia, Gene Weckler, disappearance, Evelyn Grace, Hartley. So many different deaths in that area. And he got away with it for years. Absolutely insane. I'm just looking for some sand. I just want some sand.
I presume you have some business with me or House Seda.
No, not really. I just wanted to annoy you. You.
What kept you? Hurry. You're alive? How fortunate. Of course not. But I have many enemies. They must be... No! You cannot trust Simone van Koenig. She must have set that ambush for you. Yes. Together, we can thwart her. I will fantasize of your excruciating demise until the Semuta makes it seem real. And then I will plot on how to make it so.
That was the one that he was kind of accused of, but cannot but they cannot, what's the word I'm looking for? He's suspected of it, but not, couldn't commit on it. Was Victor Harold Travis and his buddy Raymond Burgess. They kind of both went missing on November 1st, 1952. Shortly after meeting Gein. And they kind of tentatively linked him to his neighbor James Walsh and his wife, but they couldn't be for certain. Now, November 21st, 1957, that was the trial date. And that was when Gein was arraigned on one count of first-degree murder in Warshire County. He pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, of course. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Yes! Oh, come back here. My pretty kitty. And that's when he was committed for the rest of his life to Central State Hospital for the criminally insane. We're discussing Gein. Pretty interesting as some of the stuff we've been seeing. What you doing? What? It's down there towards the back. And then can I have the water too, please? Wah 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 wah. Wah 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 wah. Thank you. So yeah, we've just been, people and I have been having a chat about Gein and watching me game and pretend that I know what I'm doing. And can you throw those away from me? You being all sweet, yes you are. They got very full bellies. Yep. Anywho, what? So the fate of Gein's property. Aye! That's claws in my leg, you silly goose. Hey. Don't start that stuff, I'll put you away. Leave your brother alone. Anyway. But he's not doing anything. Be nice to your brother, you silly goosey. So, in the end, even though Gein had originally, when the father left, where are you going? Oh yeah, I'm really tired. God does that all the time. So, are you gonna be using like that plastic up there to surround it?
Something like that. We got some heavier plastic for farm use.
How much is that?
Real cheap. Like $14 for 50 feet, $24 for 100 feet or something like that.
That's not bad.
It should be big enough I can do one rack. Just cut out the door.
Right. Donkey. My beautifuls. Look at my beautifuls. Look at the beautiful kitties. It's like, I don't know what to do here. Mama's petting me and I like it, but I don't want to be touched right now. Ah! Right? He's a feisty one right now. Too bad. I'm petting you.
That you have, Mama.
Oh, he purring away now. Silly boy. Silly boy. Silly boy kitty. And he's an orange kitty too, so you take that as a warning. Fair warning there. Anywho. Get a drink. So the fate of Gein's property. Gein's house, the outbuildings, and remember, mind you, when we started the story, he had originally had 155 acres. His mom built it up to well over 200 and some acres. They sold 80 of those acres. In the end, ultimately, he had 100. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Had a cat kind of slide down my leg with the claws out. That hurt. Back to the Gein story though. He had 195 acres. And they were appraised at the time to be the equivalent of $4,700 to $51,000 in 2024. Now, if you go by today's market though, oh, he would have been a multi-millionaire at this point. His possessions were scheduled to be auctioned on March 30th, 1958, amidst rumors that the house and the land it stood on might become a tourist attraction. Early on the morning of March 20th, the house was actually destroyed by a fire. A deputy marshal reported that a garbage fire had been set 75 feet, so 23 meters, from the house by a clearing crew who were given the task of disposing of the refuse and then the hot coals were recovered from the spot of the bonfire. But the fire did not spread along the ground from that location of the house. So it was suspected arson, but the cause of the fire was never really officially determined. So right before stuff was getting ready to be auctioned and the house was going to become a tourist attraction, the house and everything goes up in flames. It is, of course, possible that the fire was not considered a matter of urgency due to the fact that the chief at that time was the son of Bernice Warden, the only victim that Gein was actually ever accused and found guilty of first-degree murder with. Now, when Gein learned of the incident while in detention, he shrugged and said, just as well. He really didn't care about the property. It wasn't about the property. It wasn't about the killing. It was all about his mom. Literally all about his mom. He did everything in his psychosis-riddled mind to appease his mom. Right, wrong, it didn't matter. He was just trying to appease her, to make her proud of him. And it didn't matter how much he tried. She was never proud of him. Just sad. He could have had a better life if just one time she goes, I'm proud of you. You know, it's like that saying from the movie The Crow, mother is the name of God on the lips of all children, and you know, more times than not, it's truth. Psychosis does a lot of things to a lot of people, and I mean, Ted Bundy or Andre Chikatilo, Gary Ridgway, you know, he was the Green River Killer, Edmund Kemper, Samuel Little, at one point, it was almost a numbers game for these people. It really was. David Barkowitz, Son of Sam Killer. Belle Dennis. Which, ironically enough, she was a female serial killer. I mean, these people had different forms of psychosis going on. Like Ted Bundy, he was what I call as a functional serial killer, because he could function in everyday life. He had friends, he had a wife, but he used it. He didn't have them because he was missing that. It was his cover. That them being around was his cover story in life. So like, he knew what he was doing. He knew it was wrong. But he had an insatiable hunger to be able to do this. Where to go? I see. So, you know how they always say that mentally and emotionally and physically, they knew they were doing wrong, but they still did it because they couldn't stop themselves. It is literally their psychosis took over, and they had to do it. It wasn't, oh, I want. It was, they had to do it. It is almost like an addiction for them. It's not. It runs along the same lines as this pure addiction. I mean, it's not that they want to do these things, but they have to. So, yeah, they have to do it. They don't feel like they get that choice. you know, alcoholics, they have to drink it. It's not that they have a choice. Um, drug, you know, people who use those type of things, you know, recreational things, party favors, whatever you want to call it. They, it's not that they want to, it's they have to. And it's sad that they have to. That is how bad their psychoses are. But again, a lot of this didn't come about the hiding in plain sight type of stuff. Didn't come about until Gein. Like, he could still go out into the everyday public and do things, and you know, he would fix people's properties, he would babysit, literally hid in plain sight. And when he was doing stuff that was wrong, the psychosis allowed him to come out of it during whatever he was doing. He knew it was wrong, and he would stop himself. See what I mean? This is what I meant. Jeff was going to try and get me today. I had that feeling. He was trying to get me yesterday, man. He about knocked me out of my own plane yesterday with how close he was when he rose up out of the desert at me. I knew he was going to get me today. He trying anyway. Look at him. He's just a pissed off little wormy today. Oh. Hot diggity dog. Another spice blow right there. And I barely got out of that one again. And everything's glitching. It's a glitch in the matrix, I tell ya. Oh, what really sucks the most is for after the fact that Gein is dead. He's long been buried. And people still today damage his grave. It's like, that poor guy died. Let him rest in peace. He did stupid stuff in his life. He's paid that price. Let him be. Anyway. Gein's Ford sedan, which he used to haul bodies of his victims. Actually, that's sold at the public auction for $760, which is like the equivalent of $8,300 in 2024 to a carnival show, no less. Sideshow operator Bunny Gibbons, and literally he charged the carnival goer 25 cents admission just to see that Ford, just to see it, not ride in it, not sit down in it, just to see it. Now if they wanted to sit, of course that costs more, but he made bank on it, honestly. But because of the cancer and all that, Gein died of respiratory failure due to lung cancer, age 77. Gein helped good gravy. He is not holding anything back today. There he is. There he is. I'm getting low on fuel. Um, so Gein has been depicted widely by American pop culture, of course. I got into my game a little bit there. Like his tail has been like ripped apart and pasted back together in so many unpleasant ways. Accepted by his family better, I think he would have gone a different route. But again, that's speculation. I can't say it was. But like a lot of his life was fictionalized by Robert Bloch in that novel Psycho, and then Alfred Hitchcock took that novel and adapted it to a movie. But like there was Deranged, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and The Light of Moon, Ed Gein the Butcher of Plainfield, Ed Gein the Musical. Yeah, they actually made a musical out of this too. Isn't that crazy? Like they took his life, ripped it apart, and said, "Oh, I'm gonna make a musical about this." Like what? What do you mean a musical? What does a musical have to do with this? But they did it. They made a musical out of it. Absolute insanity though, but they made a musical out of it. Of course, Rob Zombie, House of 4,000 Corpses, The Devil's Rejects. I mean, granted, he was one person, but he inspired so many of these. Then there was the Norman Bates, the Motel Hell, Leatherface, Buffalo Bill. Yeah, Buffalo Bill was done after this guy with the whole suit thing. Con Air. American filmmaker Errol Morris, along with a German filmmaker Werner Herzog, did a collaboration type thing about Gein. I mean, they made Gein's story inspired American grunge bands. Who wrote now Tad wrote the song Nipple Belt for their 1989 God's Balls. Gein also inspired thrash metal bands like Slayer, who wrote Dead Skin Mask, Seasons in the Abyss. Blind Melon singer did Shannon Hoon. Excuse me. Blind Melon's singer Shannon Hood. I'm trying to remember everything. Stated in interviews that the song "Skinned" off their 1995 album soup was directly related to Gein and explained many of his crimes. Excuse me. That he committed. Additionally, Gein was the inspiration and namesake to the song "Nothing's Too Gein" by American heavy metal band Mudvayne, released in 2000 on their LD50 album. Patrick Bateman again. Was done for the American Psycho, and that was adapted to different movies. I mean, there was a famous quote there stating, you know what Ed Gein said about women? He said, when I see a pretty girl walk down the street, I think of two things. One part of me thinks, take her out, take her to a nice place, be sweet and treat her right. And the other part wonders, what would her head look like on a stick? That was the two sides of Ed Gein. That was the two sides of his brain and his psychosis, thinking in conjunction with each other. What are you doing? Y'all are seeing this, right? Jeff is not being a nice wormy worm today. He is just cycling through. It's weird. What he's doing there. But he is in a piss poor mood. Anyway. I'm here business time of month. Never know. Jeff could be a Jeffina. We really don't know. Greenskeepers, it puts the list on skin. Again, was inspired by the movie Silence of the Lambs, and Silence of the Lambs was inspired by Gein. So it is crazy how much just the Gein story has inspired in life. You know, Jeffrey Dahmer too. Like there was different things that was portrayed. So Gein was possibly, like, they thought, you know, Jeffrey Dahmer's killings and everything and how he did them and what ideas came to mind was also inspired by Gein's writings. And because I mean they did biographies about Gein, they've done stories about him, movies, things like that, and they're thinking that inspired Dahmer as well. I mean, look at how much. It is absolutely crazy how much inspiration Gein's story gave to so many serial killers, so many movies, so many stories, and just everyday stuff. I don't know. I just assume that someday... I think they tried sweeping Gein's history, Gein's story and everything under the rug for so many years. But it was always found out. Like, they couldn't sweep it under the rug too many times. People kept finding out about it. It's a very gross sucker. It's a spicy, spicy worm. Very, very gross. There he is. Under I go. Anyway. I think they did a really good job portraying the whole Gein story. Like, they left nothing on the table when it came to portraying what happened. Especially this one. I see him come up for a little bit there. Like, I see you. What I'd like to see, though, is them to bring out all of the facts. Like, really show everything. You know, case history, case files, original notations from that time. Gotta get up here again. You gonna say hi?
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm is approaching.
Oh no. This is not a good time, kittens. This is not a good time. Come on. It's just in time. Like a glove. Anyway. You know, oh, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The later ones were also kind of semi-loosely inspired. Me. had a cat getting at my foot. There's just so much. Like, I don't like to use the name, but he was also referred to as the Butcher of Plainfield, and honestly, I don't think that was the best thing that they could have called this poor guy, because what happened to him, it wasn't good. It's like he grew up with his own psychosis issues, which were very badly exacerbated by his mother's psychosis. So it was one psychosis playing onto the other psychosis, and it just kept going and going and going. There was no way out for him. Yeah, I don't think that was exactly fair for him either. Like, he got dealt a shitty hand in life to begin with, and then it became even shittier when other people put their own psychosis on. Yeah, even one of his best friends, who was female no less, she had her own psychoses. And his, hers, and the other hers all just worked totally against him. He had an abusive father, a fanatically religious mother, and then his female friend. Just all of that together, and he was dealt a really crappy hand. They want to say Mary Hogan was his first victim, but you have to heavily look at the brother, who died very suspiciously, as potentially his very first kill. I mean, this guy had intense media exposure for all of his crimes, or quote unquote crimes, because he was never fully convicted of any crimes except for the one murder, and that was it. So everything else is speculation. And I mean, he lived to be 77 years old and died in 1984. He got to see the beginnings of, MTV and all of the 70s. All of the 60s, all of the 70s. All of the crazy drug-fueled worlds during those two specific two specific, I don't know what I want to call it, chunks of time is best I can describe it. I don't know how to best describe that. Just chunks of time. You don't hear much about his younger years either. You know, what did he go through during school? How much of the psychosis was showing even then? And I mean, in 1957 is when he was arrested and then institutionalized. They don't know for sure when exactly he started all of this. Like, at all the research that I was able to do on this, I mean, there was really... There was never really a start date for when he started committing crimes. So, I mean, and he remembers watching his mom butcher pigs. So he learned a lot from her. And then, like, with Ed Gein's body, it's no longer buried in Wisconsin. And the reason why is because there's people who... I know I'm kind of, like, all over the place with this, and I'm so sorry, everybody. It's just there's a lot of information to give, and I've got limited amount of time before I have to go to my other job. I didn't have to work today, so it was kind of nice. But Ed Gein's body is no longer buried in Wisconsin, and the reason why is because people would hold seances there. People have tried digging him up. They have vandalized his gravesite more times than anybody can count. Eventually, the authorities didn't have any other choice but to exhume him, cremate him, and his remains, along with his tombstone, are now locked in a vault in the county sheriff's. So yeah, it's kind of fucked up, you know. Think about that. People wanted to damage this guy's body and vault and tombstone so badly to the point where they had to cremate his body and take his vault, his tombstone, and his cremated body and lock them up in county jail. What the hell is wrong with people? That they have to do that. That is crazy. And he will forever be there. He can't... He can never be removed from that, because if he does and people find out, they're going to keep trying again. And it's like, really? Really? But Ed Gein is not technically defined as a serial killer. That's the weirdest part of all. Like, they know he did a lot of things, that he has been suspected of a lot of different things too. But he was never defined as a serial killer because he was only convicted and admitted to 2 murders. That was it. And their definition of a serial killer is anybody who commits 3 or more murders over a period of time. And Gein, he only did 2. And you can get accused of, you know, killing a lot of people. But unless they can prove it, you're not much. There's not much they can do. Some of the comments and some of these things that I found too, like severe psychosis, blame the mother. Very Freudian of you. True Buffalo Bill. It just, I don't know, some of the stuff that you can find, and I mean, really, do your research. Some of it is malarkey with some of the stuff they've tried to throw out there, but others, there's a lot. But there is another murderer, and they kind of touched upon this a little bit. It's called the Birdman. They tried claiming that what Gein did kind of inspired, for lack of a better word, the Birdman. But here's the thing. Robert Franklin Stroud, the Birdman of Alcatraz, died November 21st, 1963. He was born (1890). And he kind of began his 17-year term in Alcatraz Federal Prison in 1942. So by time anybody started having any kind of inkling about Gein, Birdman was already locked up. So that timeline doesn't exactly fit. So I'm not sure how in the world that related to Ed Gein, but there's people who claim that, and it doesn't, the timeline, like I said, it doesn't fit, because the Birdman was doing more before then. So yeah. But I do like the fact that, you know, that you've all kind of humored me for this time period, and we got to talk about Gein a little bit. I'm going to try and pick another one. Like, honestly, I think I want to try to make Monster Mondays a thing where I will come on for my lunch hour, a few hours, because I get a few hours for lunch. Remember, I run my own business. I can take as long as I want. But I think I'll come on and we can discuss these things. Discuss the history behind some of the most notorious serial killers. Because there's honestly a lot. I mean, honestly, if you think this might be a really good thing to do a Monster Monday, and Every Monday, I will go over a different monster that I researched over the weekend. I'm happy to do so. I mean, there's a lot of really good information out there. It's a spicy wormy day. I don't know. I think I'll try to do Ted Bundy next week. Next Monday I'll do Ted Bundy maybe. I don't know. Oh, and then there's the Mendez brothers. All kinds of stuff that we can possibly go over. I live for true crime. Honestly, it's almost kind of a passion of mine to be able to look at these things and see and try to figure out what went on in these people's minds that they felt their only resort in life was to murder. Like they felt they had no other choice but to commit crimes and murder to get them out of their way so they no longer had to deal with it. Deal with them. It's sad though when you can see the psychosis. You can see, like, story time. So, my brother has got the mind of a 7-year-old. He will never go past that age mentally. And because of that, he does suffer from different forms of a psychosis where he doesn't always recognize reality from fiction. And he will accuse people of doing this or that or the other when these people may not have ever had anything to do with what he thinks happened. And I have seen what it can do to the average person, to, you know, because I also had a few other friends who, hell, my ex-husband, for example, he had a severe psychosis break himself. So schizophrenia is no joking matter. It's not funny. It's dangerous. And while I loved my ex-husband and I love my brother dearly, I see what the psychosis does. And it hurts. It hurts a person. Like, I had to walk away from my ex-husband because of his mental incapacity due to schizophrenia. I had to walk away. It's not that I wanted to. I mean, that was my husband. I absolutely love him dearly, but his psychosis was so bad. I had to look out for me and our children before I could look out for him. You know, there was no telling what one can do when your mind is not actively being normal and realizing facts from fiction. There's not much a person can do when that goes on, and especially if it's somebody you love and care about. And I recognized that I could not stay anymore. I recognized it. It's not an easy recognition. I saw the path. I saw the all of the things that could have happened. I lucked out, honestly, because nothing did happen. But there was always that risk. What if his psychosis goes in a different direction? What if this and what if that? I mean, you don't know what will or could happen when somebody is having a psychotic break. And they don't either. That's the worst part of all. They don't recognize they're having a psychotic break. They don't recognize how much jeopardy they're putting themselves, their family into, their friends through. They don't recognize it. They don't see it. And it's not their fault. It is legitimately not their fault. Their mind is just confused. It's a spicy Jesse. It's a very spicy Jesse. Okay. So yeah. That was my little story. History of Red King. Look at this spicy shit thing. So good night, farewell, la vidas and goodbye. Adieu, adieu, until we meet again. Good night.